Dreamers everywhere, welcome to the Dueling Disney podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Andee Zilmerman.
And I'm the other one of your hosts, Andee. How are you doing? Hey, happy Mother's Day. We're recording this on Mother's Day, and you are
recording
a
this
mother.
on Mother's Day. I'm a mother. I am a mother, but don't have any kids at home. I went and visited my mother.
You're still a mother.
Yeah.
And you're a mother and tell your mom happy Mother's Day from me. I love her too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Feeling sad for people like you and Ed whose moms are not celebrating here on Earth.
That's
or
true.
You're
This
not
is Ed's
celebrating here.
first. To give my condolences to Ed. It's a tough Mother's Day.
Yeah. We're learning all kinds of new things. So anyway,
I've had how many years to get used to it?
A lot.
Holy smokes. I think, is this year 25?
I was thinking about that earlier.
I think it's 25 years maybe. Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that makes sense. Because it was right before Emma was born, or it was before Emma was born, I think. Anyway.
Yeah. It's just weird. People, without meaning to, will say things like, hey, have you called your mom for Mother's Day? And you're like, well, I don't want to be a jerk, but maybe just don't say that to people. And it's because people are well-meaning, right? Like,
I know.
People don't mean anything by it. And you don't want to be a jerk when they say something like that. But you can't really respond.
There's so many things wrong with all of that. I mean, like what about people who don't have a good relationship with their mom? Or what about people who, women who lost children? Like, it's just, hard, right? Like, it's just, yay, Hallmark for giving us Mother's Day.
There is no way to get through life without, like, putting your foot in your mouth. So for me, it's, can you learn how to graciously say, oh, I'm sorry, I screwed up.
Yeah.
But anyway, I said Happy Mother's Day to make things happy and joyful, not to dive into.
I am known for taking a happy thought and turning it dark immediately. It's
You're like
kind
the
of my
opposite of Tinkerbell.
It's so true. No, I am. Hello, can we just say I am the original Tinkerbell, like in the original Peter Pan, where she is just a total witch and
this is true.
Of Wendy, and just, I mean, I don't know when she became this happy creature. I don't know. Probably when
it's when Walt
Pan left, but
Walt did that.
I'm just saying that. Yeah. Anyway, how was your Disney week?
It's good. I spent a lot of Disney time this Disney week planning a Disney trip with my Disney family. You have invited me to join you and your family on a trip to, well, actually 2 different trips. We'll talk about the other one, on a trip to Walt Disney World and towards the end of the year. And so I spent the week doing what I always do, which is playing with the Walt Disney World app or website to try and figure out the absolute cheapest way to stay on property. And, playing with the numbers. They have this cool thing where you compare the rates of the different hotels and still ending up at where I knew I was going to end up when I started that whole process, which is at the value resorts, because the next resort, while more comfortable, is literally twice as much money. And so I couldn't justify it for a place I'm just going to sleep for 5 nights or so. So I did select one of the all-star resorts. So I will be busing it Disney Transportation. But actually, I just really enjoy that process. I did spring for the extra money to be near the central part of the resort because
you learned your lesson.
I learned my lesson. I have an Apple Watch, and the last time I was there, and I think I talked about this on the podcast, it was a couple of years ago. The last time I was there, my hotel room, the distance, according to my Apple Watch, the distance from the central part where they let you off of the buses to my hotel room in the complex was 0.8 miles.
Yeah.
And so there was one night in which I needed to get some cash to tip the guys who were moving my bags the next day. And so I walked all the way to the central place to go to the ATM. The ATM didn't work. So I walked all the way. It was like 2 miles of walking just to do like a simple task. So I went ahead and booked a room near there. And I have several months, and who knows, maybe I'll talk myself into upgrading at some point. Let's say I win the lottery. Hey, I've always wanted to stay in the Contemporary Resort, but I probably won't, because look, folks, Disney is a lot of money.
In case you didn't know.
In case
that was new information for you.
Mm-hmm. So I spent a lot of Disney time on my Disney travel plans on the Disney site. Disney.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same.
How was your Disney week?
It was, I mean, just like yours, planning our trips that we're going to take this year. But also I did have one non-trip related Disney thing. And that's the fact that with my 7th graders right now, we are studying the dystopian genre, or I like to call it current events.
Sure.
But we did.
Wait a minute. 7th graders are doing dystopian? Is that part of the curriculum, or is that just your personality?
No. Actually, I was dreading it. At the beginning of the year. I did not want to teach dystopian. The school I just came from, they do it in 8th grade, but this school does it in 7th grade. And I was not looking forward.
I'm not a huge fan of dystopian fiction. I got to tell you, it wasn't bad enough.
That's how I felt. I'm like, how am I going to do this? But it turned out, just as the year went by, I decided we were going to do a whole class novel. Usually you break up into book groups and everybody gets a different dystopian, but we're doing a whole class novel right now on The Giver. And I have read this book a ton of times before, but even this time I'm getting new information out of it. But I thought that to do a compare and contrast kind of thing, we watched a little bit of WALL-E and the WALL-E Society.
If you're going to go with a dystopian future, I'm okay with WALL-E.
But just the whole, it's very different than The Giver, but also we were able to find a lot of similarities as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I find it interesting that some kids, not all, I mean, because the kids grew up watching Disney movies, but these are 12 and 13-year-olds, and there were quite a few who hadn't seen WALL-E. And I was like, what do you mean you haven't seen it? Like, you grow up watching these Disney movies and you had, all Netflix and Disney Plus since you were born. But WALL-E came out in 2008, and that was before these kids were born. So
yeah,
I was like, wow. So
if you think about how many Disney movies come out every year, like, and how much just sort of material there is.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not surprised. Like, when we grew up, like, a Disney movie is like once every 3 or 4 years. So we would watch the new ones, and then we'd rewatch all of the old ones a million times.
Yeah, for sure. So the last time we talked, in fact, I told you I was going to watch Waking Sleeping Beauty on, because that was one of your movies that you picked out for last time. And I watched it, and I just think it was fantastic. I thought it was so good. One of the most important movies any Disney fan should watch.
If you have any interest in Disney history, animation specifically, oh my gosh, it's so enlightening. And I don't know, I just think it's a well constructed documentary. And I lived and died with this group of people, even though I knew they were going to win, but it didn't seem like they were going to win.
It was, I thought it was fascinating, and it made me appreciate some of the movies so much more. So that was a good watch. I can't remember why I
basically working out of a trailer in Glendale.
Yeah, I know. Oh, so much. So anyway, so that was a good Disney week, and I am excited about all the trips that we have planned. For someone who started the year out saying, I don't know that I'm going to do any Disney parks this year. Yeah. That obviously was a joke, because...
I mean, isn't that always a joke for you? You kind of say that every year, and then...
Yeah.
I just gave up and said, you know what? Not only am I going to just admit that I'm going to upgrade my Magic Key, and I'm just going to...
Yeah, you'll upgrade your Magic Key, but you won't upgrade your hotel room.
If we had sponsors, if any of these travel companies want to sponsor my trip, I am not a fancy DVC club owner.
That's true.
I don't smell good or shower regularly.
I'm sure. No, I don't think that's on the application, actually. I'm pretty sure they just want your money.
I mean, let's be clear. There's a huge possibility I upgrade between now and when we show up.
I don't know.
One thing I do like is a soft bed. And I like the value resorts, but the beds are like 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
If the bed was a soft, I would not care.
Yeah.
But when you sleep in a value resort one night and a moderate resort the next, it's really hard. And the water was lukewarm at best at the value resorts.
I know, the water.
I like a shower hot enough to burn your skin off. That's who I am.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, since it's Mother's Day, we thought we'd do a tribute to some of the Disney moms, which also, yeah, because I have to bring everything down. It's funny because Disney has this reputation of killing off their moms for the movies.
I mean, it's fiction, right? Like, orphans are much more, as protagonists, you have much more empathy for orphans. People give it to Disney, but it's fantasy.
Everything. Disney took it from, Grimm's and Hans Christian Andersen.
There's a lot of dead dads in Disney movies too. So let's be. There's also a lot of weirdly absentee fathers. It's just very strange. Bambi's dad. Sorry.
He wasn't. Well, yeah, he was.
Yeah, he waits till the mom dies and then he shows up. Yeah. He's like, well, I guess I have to take care of you now.
Yeah, that's kind of lame. That's true. Good point. All right. Well, so we have categories for our mothers that we picked.
Yes, and we each came up with independent categories. So I'm curious if our categories will overlap.
They probably will, or not. I don't know. Do you want to go first? Or do you want me to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
Because my first one is related to the conversation I just had, because it was almost Bambi's mom for this one. But I went back and forth on who would get this. And this category is the most underrated or most heroic mom in Disney movies, because I was just thinking about my mom, who's severely underrated and was super heroic. And the name I landed on, I went back and forth between Bambi's mom and this one. And I landed on Mrs. Dumbo's mom.
Oh.
And for so many reasons. One, both her and Bambi's mother conspicuously don't have their own names.
Yeah.
Bambi's mother is named Bambi's mother.
That's true.
And Mrs. Jumbo means, particularly at the time, that she was married to Jumbo.
Yeah, exactly.
So her husband, who's never in the movie, has a name. Her kid has a name, but she herself is only known as Mrs. Jumbo. However, she's awesome. She's so, like, when somebody tries to, like, hurt Dumbo, she goes off. She's incredibly protective. She just really is like, you will not hurt my kid. She suffers greatly for it, gets locked up. And then even when she's locked up and he needs her, she finds a way to comfort Dumbo at his lowest in maybe the most likely song to make me cry, Baby Mine.
Of course.
I mean, come on. What am I, made of stone? So, Mrs. Jumbo is just awesome, super heroic, super underrated. And that's why I picked her over Bambi's mother, because people talk about how cool Bambi's mother was, but people seem to overlook Mrs. Jumbo. And I'm starting, a thing, hashtag give Mrs. Jumbo a name.
For
I don't
real.
know if they gave her a name in that Tim Burton movie, but that movie was horrible, and I've struck it.
I didn't see it, so
it
I
was
don't.
Awful. It was so
I
bad.
don't know.
We get it, Tim Burton. Nobody liked you as a kid. We get it. Can you make another movie topic?
Okay, can we just... I'm sorry, off the topic for a second. I loved in Waking Sleepy Beauty that we got to see a Tim Burton animator.
Yeah.
We got to see Tim Burton as a young animator.
It's so crazy.
So crazy when they were showing that. I was like, what? That? That's so... Oh, I love that movie. Okay, mine is not as secretive, but it's definitely a most heroic mother, and she does have a name, and she will do anything for her family and the rest of the world as well. And I picked Helen Parr from Mrs. Incredible. If you don't know,
Helen Parr, Mrs. Incredible, Elastigirl.
She will do anything for her family and the world, and keep dinner on the table the whole time. She's hilarious. I love her. Especially in the second Incredibles movie, where she really shines. So she's my top pick for heroic mother. It wasn't like such a secret of heroic mother, since she literally is a hero, a superhero.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, not to jump on your stuff, but she's on my list, but as coolest mom.
Oh, coolest mom.
She's just like, she's 100% mom, right?
Yeah.
But especially in Incredibles 2, like, she's the protagonist in Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
And she, like, I'm a superhero aficionado, I think it's fair to say. I am somewhat of an expert on superheroes. And of every superhero in those movies, she's the best.
Yeah.
Like, she's the most capable. She's the smartest. Like, she is just
Mm-hmm.
100% the
Yeah.
baddest of the good. Like, she is awesome. And so she made my list as coolest mom
Coolest mom.
because she's one of those moms that's like cooler than her kids and her husband. Like,
Yeah.
she's just awesome.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Okay, well, then my next category of mom was not coolest, as in you say, but most chill mom. Like, she is so chill. I wish I had her chill. I wish I had her personality. I mean, I have her personality and that I just say whatever needs to be said. I have no problem doing that. But
You don't say.
She does it with love. I do it with not so much
Snark.
love. She's snarky too, and that's Chica from Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
I think Wendy Malick is an actress I love, and she is the voice. And Emperor's New Groove, just one of my favorites, and I just think she's a really great mom. And
I like her. I like that. You know what's so funny? That movie, when you think about that movie and its production, like, it was such a nightmare production. It was such, by the end of the production, it was such not the movie they intended it to be. It didn't make a ton of money, but I remember seeing that movie in the theaters and laugh. I thought I'd die. It was so funny.
I know that's what we said in our underrated last time when we talked about underrated movies. And I just thought, but I think it like grew with this cult following. I think, the millennials kind of grabbed onto it, and millennials and Gen Z a little bit, but I think the millennials kind of grabbed onto that one.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And made it what it was, and Netflix made it what it was, right? Because it wasn't in the theaters, and it was, Anyway, I like Chica. She's good. She's a good mom. She tells her husband what to say, what to do. She doesn't take Cusco's crap. So,
well, I mean, who would?
I don't know.
So my next one might be controversial, because I think many people would look at this as maybe not the greatest mom, considering the storyline. But I disagree when you take into account the context within which she exists. Now, this mom exists in a world in which women are incredibly devalued, and decides to spend her time doing something about it and using her time and resources to change the state of women. To actually get, what's the word for it, votes for women. And I am going to say on my list for most independent and self-fulfilled mom, Winifred Banks. And also, I just love Glynis Johns. I love that movie. I think that character kind of holds that movie together, and people don't. She doesn't have a lot of lines. George Banks has more screen time. But when you watch her, and you watch that movie, you watch her, she is sort of slowly making everything fit together. She knows how to handle her husband. She knows how to handle that household. The only thing she doesn't know how to handle is those kids. But even
fighting a nanny.
She's got the resources. She's like, yeah, let's hire a nanny. That ain't my thing. And I don't know. I just always thought she was kind of awesome. So I'm going to go with Winifred Banks. Because she spends the whole movie trying to get women the right to vote. Why is that not a great thing to be doing?
Yeah. She's so funny. And she's like, I love it when like George comes home or is coming home, she gathers all the banners from the women. Mr.
You know how
Banks
this upsets the master.
The cause. Oh man. Oh, she's funny. All right. That's a good one. All right. My next one it's the mom that probably no kid wants, but every kid needs, and she is the tiger mom, and that is Ming Lee from Turning Red.
Oh my gosh, she almost made my list. I love her.
Oh, I just awesome. Think. I mean,
not if you were her kid, she would be a nightmare. But
I love the movie Turning Red. I think that should have been on the underrated movies actually as well, the underrated list. I loved it from the mom's point of view. And so maybe because I relate to her so much.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
She's such a witch, and she's like, here's what you need. Here's what you need. You need this. I mean, and embarrassing kids left and right.
Yeah. Well, and the thing where it's like, and it does remind me of my mom in the sense of, Yeah, I don't really care that you're embarrassed. That's not really a
Yeah, that's the
motivating factor
best.
for me.
Yeah, that's the
Like,
best.
your embarrassment has literally no effect on whether or not I do
Oh,
something. And so that's sort of admirable. The other thing is that through the course of the movie, like, she is allowed to be more human, strangely enough, right? Because her true legacy and her true connection to her daughter becomes evident, even though she does everything to hide it and put it down. She just can't help it. And I just thought it was such a wonderful movie. And it's one of those movies that literally, I laugh at people's reaction when I'm like, well, the movie's a metaphor. And if you don't, it's not, it's almost so straight ahead, it's not a metaphor. But there are still people who are like, I don't know why people keep saying that movie's about menstruation. I'm like, what? Like, how do you not? Like, you literally have to be like so incredibly dense. And they're like, oh, that's the filmmakers didn't intend that. I'm like, it's called Turning Red.
yeah.
Like, it's like, oh my God. Um, yeah, I really like that
Well,
character. I
that's
like
what
that movie a lot.
I like her. I mean, and it's the whole I love the womanhood of it. I love not making a big deal out of getting your period, right? Like making it a movie. Um I like her because, man, once you get to my age and you know the other side of puberty, it's like the puberty in your 50s. It's horrible, and that she is going through. I just relate to that woman so much, and I've embarrassed my kids so much, and they tell me, and I know, and she like felt bad. She felt bad later, like
I don't know.
kind of.
Maybe I'm just projecting my mom, who never felt bad, not even once, and would laugh at the fact that I was
Well,
embarrassed.
yeah, it does. Yeah, well, yeah.
My
She didn't
mom
feel bad
who
while she was doing
my
it.
mom
I
who went
mean,
up to the girl working at Montgomery Ward's and said, "Hey, my son's single. Are you single? Because I think he thinks you're attractive and should ask you out."
wow.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's my mother.
you're
That was
right.
my mother.
Can we please tell Emma and Annika this so that when they think that I've embarrassed them the most, that I
Yes,
haven't, and I could do so much worse.
my mother, who would go up to people whose kids were misbehaving in the mall and tell them, "Hey, you need to get your kids in line, or else my son's going to go over there and do something about it."
Oh,
Like,
that's
what?
funny.
What?
That's
I'm
funny.
gonna what?
That's funny.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I get it. Okay.
Emma and Annika have no idea.
No, they don't. They really don't. They
Ugh.
don't.
Wow. Okay. So
Imagine if
my
your
next.
mom had social media.
Oh, my mom would have like. Are you kidding me? My mom would never. I mean, I barely am on social media. We have. How often do I post on our Dueling Disney social media?
That would be never.
I've posted like twice in the 5 years we've had it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been more
So
than.
can you imagine my mother? I couldn't. I tried to teach my mom how to use a mouse, and she
Oh,
kept
yeah.
lifting it up. She kept going like this in the air. I was like, "No, mom, you trace it on the desk." She was like, she'd pick it up and go, "What? Like this?" I'm like, "Oh my God,
Oh,
you're a crazy lady."
yeah.
So my next one, in this one, I mean, obviously, I have some issues, but I was like, most loving mom. I was just thinking of my mom. And I happened upon this. I was just going through different Disney movies, and I was like, which one is just like the most like pure love, like wafting off of her? And it's actually an adoptive mom, which I think is like one of those really key things that when we think about mothers, like there's a ton of mothers who didn't naturally bear their children, but are just as loving and protective and all that sort of thing. And so this one was not, because I'm looking at your face and thinking you might have picked this. It was not the three fairies who I thought about for this category, Flora,
Okay.
Fauna, and Merryweather. It was Kala from Tarzan.
Yeah, that's exactly who. Yeah.
Who gets Tarzan when he's a baby, and
Mm-hmm.
then spends her life protecting him and loving him, and just like, it's to the credit of the Disney animators and the voice actors that like you just feel like this mom loves this kid. Like, she's got, let's be honest, an abusive husband who's kind of a jerk.
But she stands up for the baby.
Oh, yeah. Like, ain't nothing going to happen to this kid. And helps him grow and helps him find his way in the world and is just always 100% loving. So Kala from Tarzan, I think, is a great mom.
Kala is an amazing mom. And yes, she needs to be on the list. So I'm glad you said that. I think she's, So speaking of,
for adoptive kids, yeah.
Well, yeah, and I actually had one of my categories is mother figure without being the actual mother. Kala was one of them, but then Nani from Lilo and Stitch. I know it was her sister.
Yeah.
But her sister completely took on the caretaker role and was great. She was great for Lilo. So,
I know what that's like.
I know you do.
Siblings, what are you gonna do?
I know you do, but I mean, think about it. There's so many people in this world who, and I've had students who have to take care of their siblings because their parents can't. Either they're not around anymore, or constantly working, or other things that they're just not around. And so, to watch Nani, I mean, her whole life is her little sister. So. Yeah, that was my category.
And who is not exactly the easiest kid to take care of.
Right? For real. But Kala was really good. I'm glad you picked her because Nani was my second in that category. So
yeah, because for that one I kept thinking of Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, just in terms of like because what I did, I went through the Disney princesses and I was like, yeah, none of them have moms, and I was like, oh, except Sleeping Beauty. But her mom barely has a line in that movie. Like I'm thinking, like, she is not really very present in that film. She's one of the few that's alive, but very sort of absent in the story. And then I thought, because she was raised by Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, and I thought, wow, that was a whole real sequence in that movie. So that was my almost on sort of the adopted mom front. Now, here's my last one, and I really struggled with this one. Once I say why I struggle with this one, you'll understand. But I was thinking of who, like, my overall favorite Disney mom, like who hits all of the things that I would think make good moms. And I kept coming back to this particular character. And the thing I struggled with wasn't the character herself or what she did, or it was whether or not I wanted to count this as Disney because it's so recent. But then I thought this particular character has, without a doubt, the worst co-parenting partner in the history of mankind, and is still a good mom through it all, and has maybe one of the worst kids you can imagine. Only very recently Disney. And I just had to give it to her. It's Marge Simpson. Marge Simpson is maybe the greatest mom in television or movie history. Because between Bart and Homer, I mean, come on. I love Homer, but he is not exactly helpful around the house. No. Marge, can I play devil's advocate? Sure, homie.
Oh yeah, that's funny that you put her in a Disney. You're right, that's controversial.
And that was my big thing. I was like, oh my god, like I do not have this thing of putting the Fox properties in Disney. Yeah, like Anastasia's not a Disney movie. I don't care.
Yeah, I know.
And from what I haven't seen it, from what I understand, it's a good movie. It ain't a Disney movie. But like when I think of moms, it's Marge. I mean, Bart's mom. If you can still love Bart, who's Bart? I mean, Lisa and Maggie. Yeah, who wouldn't love Lisa and Maggie? But Bart.
Yeah,
special little guy.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, kudos to Marge for sure. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I would have put Bart in some type of military academy.
My lord. If he ever gets to be that age. He's never going to be that age, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so my last one this comes from one of my favorite. I just love this movie so much. This one I chose as my like number one pick for mom because she admits her mistakes. It shows that moms make mistakes, and then she admits her mistakes. And so it's Queen Eleanor from Brave, who wanted to follow tradition and get her daughter married off to a prince because that's the way things are done, until her daughter turns her into a bear. Which,
as you do, as one does.
As one does. And then the three little brothers is the three little bears. They're just, I love them. But I love that movie every time I see myself. Just being a mom is hard. Being a mom is hard. And being a mom is hard. Let me just tell her. Nobody disagrees. I know. It is hard. It's hard when you're pregnant. It's hard when the babies are born. And you worry about them forever because I still cannot stop worrying.
Forever. I mean, I remember before you were a mom, and like, talk about a changed human being.
It's hard. It's hard being a mom. And I have good kids. I mean, there's a lot of moms, a lot of good moms who are out there whose kids are testing them in more ways than they should be tested. And
yeah. I mean, my mom was lucky enough to have me, but the other ones.
Yeah. I'm sure she told you that too.
Yeah. I mean, she said it with her eyes.
Mm-hmm,
you know, the one good one. She didn't say it out loud, but we know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, Daniel's the best and you know it.
I know, we all know it. It's sad.
Anyway, but that's what I respect a mom who can admit her mistakes, especially to her daughters.
Yeah.
Sure, your daughters have to go to therapy forever because of you, but
hey, who doesn't?
Admitting your mistakes.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't? Pay for the therapy.
Look, I love my mom. She's been gone 25 years. But let's be clear. There are times when I'm like, oh, my God, this woman. Oh.
Yeah.
And I miss her every day.
Yeah.
And every day, something comes out of my brain or something comes out of my head or my mouth, and I'm like, oh, it's her. She's the one that did that to me.
I hate that. I hate it so much. It happens to me. Oh my gosh. I will say thanks to the girls. It'll come out of my mouth or I'll text it. And I'm like, God, that's my mother.
I once told a student, and it was not, let me be clear, this was not professional. This was not student informed. This was not the way it should be. But one of the students came in our office to get a parking pass. And it was the style at the time where kids wore their pants low on their hips. They still
do that, my friend. They still do
that, and he came in and he was bent over and he was signing a form and his whole behind he had underwear on, but his whole behind was showing. And as a full professional with a graduate degree and everything, I just looked at him and out of my mouth went, boy, pull your pants up. And it was like, Miss Renee came through my head and out my mouth. And I was like, oh my God, my mother just told this person to pull his pants up through me. And it wasn't a request. It wasn't a professional.
No,
I
agree.
My mother saying, boy, pull your pants up. And he did.
Well, I'm glad.
I have one honorable mention that I'd like to mention. Do you have any honorable mentions?
I do. I have one shout out that I want to mention. So go ahead, do yours. It might be the same one.
You do yours first.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. My shout out is not a human being, but can we just all appreciate the Nana character in Peter Pan? Because I don't know but it could be a great mom thing because Mrs. Darling probably went out and had the knowledge to pick a dog that was be a great nanny. I mean, that takes some real ingenious there.
I mean, that dog knew how to make the bed.
I want a dog nanny.
I got a dog right here. He can't make the bed. He can mess it up.
No, I have a dog right here too that just barked, and he does not take care of other people very well. He likes to be taken care of. So yeah, that's my shout out. My shout out is Nana.
Nice. Mine is, and this person is legendary, someone who was able to really take their lifelong passion and imbue it into their children in a way that has so impacted their children that this passion has taken over every aspect of their life. And it's Andee Zomerman, who is the best Disney mom I know, who has indoctrinated her children into the Disney cult, but whose kids are still pretty awesome, who I love to death, even though one of them is going to make me dress up at Disney World, which I don't want to do, but I'll do it because I love her.
I know you're going to have to do it because you love her.
I don't. Do I look like I have a choice?
None of us have a choice.
No, we don't have a choice in this. And that's
all right. Thank you.
You're doing. I could say it's your fault, but I'd like to leave on a positive angle. It's your doing. But in all seriousness, you're a great mom. So you're my favorite Disney mom.
Oh, that's nice. Even more than Nana?
Even more than Nana. Even more than Nana. Maybe not Mrs. Jumbo, but
No, I don't think I could do Mrs. Jumbo. I wouldn't
give Mrs. Jumbo a name. #.
Yeah, I think
Mrs.
so.
Jumbo
I think you're right. I think you're right. All right. Well, then, what do our dueling Disney community duelists think of the best moms? Who do we miss? And who do you agree with? And all that fun stuff. So definitely, if you haven't joined us on Facebook, our community is Dueling Disney Community Duelists, and you can find the Dueling Disney page everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but you can find it on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and even Threads. But you won't find us on what used to be Twitter because we're not there.
Not anymore.
No, not there.
Your cadaverous pallor betrays an aura of foreboding. Almost as though you sense a disquieting metamorphosis. Is this haunted room actually stretching? Or is it your imagination? And consider this dismaying observation. This chamber has no windows and no doors, which offers you this chilling challenge to find a way out. Of course, there's always Dueling Disney.